day 38, and today I am quite amazed actually that I decided to do these 100 days of videos, because there is so much that I'm going through, and it's interesting that I decided to document that. I guess it wasn't a decision, obviously, but I didn't know what was coming, right? But I always love these inner inspirations because they always take me exactly where I need to go. That's why we should always follow our inner inspiration. But a lot of what I'm thinking about lately, and what I'm thinking about always, is this idea of family, and that family is everything, and that everyone is supposed to love each other. And you know, Instagram and social media is all about, the happy families, the happy pictures of families and all that stuff. And it's just not my experience. I'm actually coming to conclusion more and more that the fact that family is everything is some kind of a patriarchal invention. Because in my research, in my observation, both in my own life and in hundreds of people that I work with, and then obviously the research that I do outside of it, is that nuclear family in patriarchal fashion was the end of community. We often talk about the fact that modern women are not very supported because the society is not supporting women, especially single mothers. But in the past, before the nuclear family became so important, and became like the pillar of society in patriarchy, the order was set in via the nuclear family. We lived in communities, and everybody helped each other, and everybody, it was a different, what's yours is mine, and it was a little bit more of a kind of everybody helps each other, and it's a we rather than you versus me. And I've written about this already, about the toxic programming we get from our mothers and from patriarchy at large. So where I find myself is actually, what I understand about families is that a family is a place where we are wounded and our traumas are set, where our nervous system is coded post-trauma, where we inherit visions and ideas about the world as well as beliefs. Some of it is true in the way that nature's laws are respected, and a lot of it in patriarchy is just not the truth. It's man-made laws that actually go against nature and therefore don't really work, right? So at the same time, I see, a lot of suffering comes from the fact that we still have these ideas about family being everything. Like, I suffer a lot that my father abandoned us when he left my mother, right? He was violent when we were children. And at the same time, he always spoke about what responsibility he had to raise us and how he loved us. So in my nervous system, love is coded right next to violence and pain. I've had some run-ins with my mom because she's not accepting some of the choices I made, and I think my choices are pretty tame. I know people who come out to their families, as pansexual and, with all kinds of other things that are a little bit out of the mainstream, although that's becoming more and more acceptable. My choices have been relatively minor, off the beaten track so far. And yet the bile and the anger that I experience, that I'm still on the receiving end of, is just incredible. And not even from, I used to be very upset about my family-in-law who just cut me off because I didn't behave according to their expectations. But now my own family, my mother has vomited on me her anger. And my sister is, decided that it's okay to tell me, that I haven't really been a good person. And I think it's just, the suffering comes from expectations that family is everything, and that we're supposed to be loved no matter what, because we're sisters, or because I'm their daughter. And it's just not true, because none of us know what it means to love. And then people also, my sister and my parents are obviously also stuck in some kind of a box of what a family means, and what a daughter is allowed to say and not allowed to say. And so they become very angry that I'm not fitting their box, their projected, definition of what family means, or how I should be behaving. And so they get very angry, and then they decide that it's okay to tell me that, as if at 56 I'm not enough of a person yet that they can just respect me, So, and a lot of suffering that I observe in my clients and, other people that I've spoken with, and the research that I make outside of the people with whom I'm working, it's because we have these expectations about what it means to be a mother, and what it means to be a daughter, and what it means to be in a marriage, and what it means to be in love. And then we demand that people with whom we're relating think like us and fit into our expectations. And often our expectations are not based on anything, not truth. It's just their own illusions or inventions. And I was, of course, the perpetrator as well, right? I also had certain expectations about my parents and my children and my husband and all that. So we forget the humanity of each other. We start objectifying, dehumanizing each other, because we want what we want. And if you're not fitting to my expectation of you, I'll be angry and I'll be violent. So all of those of us who see the pictures on Mother's Day and want to cry instead of share our own pictures, or all of us who see happy, smiley families all together and don't feel that they can relate, well, that's how I'm living. And I'm more and more thinking that, this idea of what a family is supposed to be, this like everything, and this like happy, happy, joy, joy, well, it's just not the truth. It's just not the truth. And it's maybe not even the purpose. If you think about it, when I think about it from the perspective of a soul's journey, then the families we're born into are just our first experience where we inherit the dynamics that we're here in this life to learn from and to surpass. So, I often speak about the country and the culture and the family in which I was born, where being mute, keeping secrets, violence, danger, survival was what I was, that was my first environment in which I tasted life. So I devoted my life to breaking out of that and making my life into something completely different, where I'm learning to understand what it means to love unconditionally, and I'm learning to not keep secrets and learn to communicate truthfully. And I'm learning to treat other people as humans, just the way I would like to be treated as well. And learning what it means to be loved unconditionally. I personally want to be loved and accepted for exactly who I am, not somebody's idea of who I should be, but for who I am, who I actually am. And I think everybody, all of us just want to be accepted and loved for who we are. And yet we don't allow ourselves to be who we are, because we're so focused on keeping relationships because we're a family, even if they are toxic, even if they are violent, even if they don't see or accept you for who you are. So, it's a very controversial stand. And until now I was sort of tiptoeing around it, and I think now I'm very interested to speak about it more and to sort of start liberating people from that box into which we put people in our families, so we can be a little bit more flexible and try to free ourselves first of all, and then everyone else, out of the boxes into which we're trying to stick everyone, because we're not all the same size and shape. And I think our families, at least the patriarchal hierarchical ideas that we've inherited about family, they haven't really been serving us very well. People feel lonely, people feel isolated, people feel like they're possessions of other people. It's been rough. I think we need to really stretch our ideas about what family is, what it means to raise children, what it means to be in relationships, and remember that we're always free. We're inherently free, and we cannot own a person, even if we've been with them for a very long time. And even if they promise forever, they can still change their mind, because that's human nature. I have so much to say about this still, but I will stop here today, and I'll be back tomorrow.